Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. Thank you very much for being here. And of course, welcome back, all you regulars. I see you, Drew. Shy Squad's here. A Caligula's is here also. No. This is not the this is the day of the Black Blizzard, but it's not about oil. This is about a real event that one event. An ecological hazard that happened in the middle of the United States. And this is a real thing that did happen historically. So, all right, let's go back. So, welcome to the show, everyone. We are getting a number of brand new people, which I'm glad that they are able to take part in the show or catch the show later. So, of course, we're still delving into our day of series, and the day of series is we take a prompt and we world build from that prompt. But more specifically, we're taking events from the settling of the United States, and I thought, because those of us in the States, we love to find different things that spark our imagination from around the world. I was like, why don't we look in our own backyard? And so I thought it would be awesome to do that. I see you in the chat trying to guess at it. It's actually a little. If you thought less about how it happened and just use you're thinking too deeply into it, because it's very easy to find out the circumstances that led to the Dust Bowl and the Black Blizzard of the United States. It's not as deep as you think it is. And so we'll get to it. So the idea of using events from our own history here in the States and using that for world building, taking those events and then kind of flavoring them, shifting them around and coming up with the circumstances and then putting it in your own world, I think is actually a good idea. And we often use media, books, novels, graphic novels, anime, movies, television shows, and sometimes history. And I thought we would do that today. So we're still continuing this idea. So what is the Black Blizzard? Now, it's been called a number of things throughout history. The region was known as the Dust Bowl, but there was another name for it. And it was also called Black Sunday. There was a specific day where it was the most horrific. But oh, yeah. Thank you there, Drew. Drew says, I hope more people from Heath Circle will join us after you show up on the show. I hope so, too. For those who don't know, I have been directly invited to Heath's Geekverse live show. And he does a more detailed version of what I do on the show. He has he has multiple channels, all live shows, interactive, and then he does deep dives into novels, books, script writing, movie making, TTRPGs, and such. And I've been invited to the show. And we know of each other tangentially through other aspects. And so I've been invited to the show. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, there you go, Shai says, oh yeah, Dust Bowl, Grapes of Wrath. Nice. My grandparents got a taste of that action. Yes. The novel The Grapes of Wrath, which was turned into a movie, is based on this event. So let's get into Dust Bowl. And specifically the Black Blizzard and its actual effects. So the Dust Bowl was a result of a period of severe dust storms that greatly damaged the ecology and agriculture of the American and Canadian prairies during the 1930s. The phenomenon was caused by a combination of natural factors. So this is what we call a perfect storm, which usually oftentimes we don't relate perfect storms with a good thing, but actually a terrible thing. But this was a perfect storm of a number of different events that all added together to create one thing. So it wasn't, oftentimes we like to reduce an event, no matter what that event is, into one factor. But most of the time when traumatic things happen, it tends to be multiple number of events that came together at the exact same time. So the phenomenon was caused by a combination of natural factors, severe drought, and human-made factors, a failure to apply dry land farming methods to prevent wind erosion, most notably the destruction of natural topsoil by settlers in the region. The drought came in three waves: 1934, 1936, and 1939 to 1940, but some regions of the high plains experienced drought conditions for as long as 8 years. So essentially, it was large populations moving out into the central portions of the United States. What today we often call flyover country. It's the middle of the United States. We've got our four corners that those that are not from the states relate to. You know, you got your northern part of like Chicago area. We've got our eastern part of like New York City and Jersey. We got southern areas like in Texas and Florida, and then we have out west, which is California. And many people are familiar with those because they're often portrayed in television and movies. But the middle of the country is the largest section, and it's often ignored. And so, yeah, in terms of media, in terms of that kind of thing, is often ignored. So let me share out some an image here so we can get ourselves an idea of like how truly horrible this was at its time. And the why I thought this would be a good idea to use is because oftentimes when it comes to natural events and things like that, I'm a lover of using the environment, using the natural environment. And in this regard, we can either make we can play both sides of the danger this involves. Is this just a natural part of your world, like sandstorms, dust storms in a desert? Is there something arcane or mischievous or harmful, like a a living sentient entity is causing this thing, or is it a mistake? Are people in your world, you know, who came from an old world, settled the shores of a new world, trying to establish something, and due to hubris or lack of knowledge or um, maybe just ignorance and not paying attention to the native peoples who are like, please don't do what you're doing, and start planting crops and things and make this mistake, and that causes some kind of other event. Or this could literally be you know, the effect of some arcane magic or whatever. And yes, am I flowing very close to dark sun? Of course I am. Of course I am. But these are some images taken. This is a photograph from 1935. A black blizzard approaches Rolla, Kansas, on May 6th. And then there's some other imagery here. A huge dust cloud blown 1,500 miles, dim city for 5 hours. And unfortunately, the particulates in the air even caused a lot of damage to lungs and such. And here's an image of the United States here. Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, Nebraska, South Dakota. And these winds, these are the Dust Bowl states. And the red area is the area with the most severe dust storm. And then there were other areas destroyed. But weather tends to flow in general from west of the United States to the east. And there's a photograph in here where dust is covering, because Washington, D.C. is kind of like in this area. And the Lincoln Memorial is blanketed in dust. So as this dust storm happened, it blew across the United States, covering so much of it. There's there were literally, this is an old timey automobile. It's literally covered in dust thick enough like snow. It was like dust drifts rather than like snow drifts. And you've got some family members there with goggles, and some kids, I guess, ready to go off for heading to school during a dust bowl. Lunch pails, masks, and goggles, and dusty haze in the air. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. And not lastly, but there it is, the Grapes of Wrath. And here we go. John Steinbeck's epic novel, The Grapes of Wrath, follows the Jodes, tenant farmers from Oklahoma who travel to California to escape the Dust Bowl. The book won a Pulitzer Prize for fiction and was made into a movie in 1940. If you haven't read this book, you might consider doing so. And so many people, I think they said upwards of 500,000 people were displaced, and they wanted to travel out west to find work, jobs, homes for themselves. And basically, literally, someone put up a billboard like, "No jobs, California, stay the hell out." Uh, crazy, crazy, crazy. And here we go. Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. during a dust storm. So let's see what you guys have to say. Mice and men, yeah. All right, let me go back a little bit. Oh, so I said, did agricultural science just not know about that stuff in the 1930s, or was the farmers themselves ignoring established wind erosion issues? Uh, Well, after that point, the government literally came out with standards for the farmers to apply. So I mean, which is why that was not continued, because we know today, um, and the weird thing is, what you're saying is, in ancient times, long before the 1930s, we knew that it was a good idea to revolve different types of crops to prevent wind erosion. What I have a feeling is that happened was people went out there who were either um, ignoring the rules that were established about revolving different types of crops, and I want to say I'm trying to find the right word. Desperation. I think some people were like, "We finally found some land. We need to plant some stuff. We'll worry about that issue in the future." And with a giant population of all people doing the exact same thing at the same time during a terrible drought, on top of that, I think is what happened. I think it's just people's willful ignorance. Like, yeah, I know we're supposed to do this thing, but don't worry about it. Yeah. Thank you there, Drew. Yeah. Be careful, Chris DBJ. Although I would love to be able to make wings. Oh, yeah, I used to have flying dreams, man. That was awesome. Anyway, so Shice goes on to say this was from farmers planting crops that did not have the right root structure to keep the dirt from blowing away. That is correct. And also, um, it some plants will remove natural nutrients from the earth and loosen the topsoil. So there are farms where they revolve different types of plant crops throughout the ages. So it might be corn one season and then strawberries the next season. I'm trying to come up with some other things in my head. Potatoes, potatoes, and then revolve the next one. Once that comes up, it's like carrots. And the next one comes. It's revolving crops. Now there are some lands where they plant the same crop over and over again. But in this situation, it was the lack of not tending to the natural topsoil. So you are correct. You're absolutely correct. And yeah, it caused this harm. And it was so horrible during the Black Blizzard era that it was so horrible that it caused not just ecological damage, but lung damage as well. So yeah. It was it was very damning. Um, yeah, like here's something else that built up to it even before that. After fairly favorable um, climatic conditions in the 1920s, with good rainfall and relatively moderate winters, which permitted increased settlement and cultivation in the Great Plains, the region entered an unusually dry era in the summer of 1930. So the 20s had plenty of rainfall and moderate winter. So that also drew people out into the plains, mid plains of the United States, to go, wow, we got a lot of rain, a lot of space. We can absolutely plant a lot of things. And so if you have pretty good rainfall and mild winters, the land won't blow away. You know what I mean? Not artificially, but nature was preventing people from seeing that happen. But it says during the next decade, the Northern Plains suffered 4 of their 7 driest calendar years since 1895. Kansas, 4 of its 12 driest, and the entire region south to West Texas lacked any period of above normal rainfall until record rains hit in the 1940s. When severe drought struck the Great Plains region in the 1930s, it resulted in erosion and loss of topsoil because of farming practices at the time. The drought dried the topsoil, and over time, it became friable, reduced to a powdery consistency in some places. Without indigenous grasses in place, the plains' high winds picked up the topsoil and created massive dust storms. And There were so many people doing it all at the same time. Yeah. But I want to talk about this part too. This catastrophe intensified the economic impact of the Great Depression in the region, which was another thing that happened. In 1935, many families were forced to leave their farms and travel to other areas. More than 500,000 Americans were left homeless. More than 350 homes had to be torn down after just one storm alone. The severe drought and dust storms left many homeless. Others had their mortgages foreclosed, or felt they had no choice but to abandon their farms in search of work. Parents packed up jalopies with their families and a few personal belongings, headed west. Uh, Jalopies were the term for like cars and pickup trucks where you see like 5 times as much stuff lashed to like the roof and the back trunk and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, some residents of the plains, especially Kansas and Oklahoma, fell ill and died of dust pneumonia. Dust pneumonia describes disorders caused by excessive exposure to dust storms, particularly during the Dust Bowl in the United States, a form of pneumonia. Dust pneumonia results when the lungs are filled with dust, inflaming the alveoli, which must be things in the lungs. All right, so sorry, lot of info dumping, but I wanted to get to the point of using this for our fantasy gaming. So sometimes in yeah, Taste of Banana says Black Blizzard will make a nice 9th level Echo Rage Mage spell. Yeah, Rage Mage. And you know what? There's something, I don't want to say this is silly, but there's a descriptor that's at the beginning of the article about the Black Blizzard. It's like, what is a black blizzard? And it says it is a snowfall that is black because of air pollution, primarily coal dust, which sounds pretty horrible but awesome. A snowfall so massive the sun is blacked out, and we've often also, other than a black blizzard, we've often called it a whiteout with snow that's so massive the sun is blacked out. A swarm of locusts or grasshoppers so thick they block out the sun, and of course, an intense dust storm, especially in the Dust Bowl area of the United States. And lastly, a chocolate ice cream treat from Dairy Queen, which is a business that serves ice cream here, which is pretty silly. Oh, there's actually an ice cream that is not chocolate, but it is literally black in a bougie ice cream place here called Creamed here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm sure it exists elsewhere, but yeah. When I Heathen mentions, oh, this show is about the Dust Bowl. Yeah, fantasy famine should be interesting. I hardly ever hear famine addressed in a fantasy RPG. There is resource management, but rarely famine. And while ignoring the mechanical aspects of this, having an event like this happen in your world, famine, dust, displaced people, travelers on roads that are desperate and things like that, I think can really make your world come alive, especially if your players are heading to a region where it might be drier or more plains like, because we often savannas and plains and hill country is often ignored because it doesn't feel like it's exciting. We love mountains that reach up into the sky. We love deep swamps and you're trudging through icky mud waist deep and things like that. We love deserts that blow sand and sandstorms and monsters skittering under the sand. But oftentimes the plains themselves can be a little bit boring, which is why I wrote a book about the plains. That's all about using it to enhance your storytelling. And many things that happen on the plains is other than we thinking that it's just boring, are dust storms and fires that sweep across the plains and herds that travel along the plains. And listen, in our past, we had herds of millions of animals that would travel across the plains. And having these dust storms, I think, is something that, you know, you could foreshadow other events that happen. Bandits and intelligent sentient creatures and beings that take advantage of people that have had to leave their homes. People going in, air quotes, your proverbial dungeons could be an abandoned town with each building being 1, 2, or 3 rooms, and you have to travel through the dust to get to the next building. And in between, PCs might be hunted, or the PCs are hunting other creatures. It's a good way to mix and match different types of ecologies to create interesting interactions. For example, maybe there are normally in the region you would never see uh, desert type or even aquatic type creatures that have been reskinned, but now with all the dust, these desert creatures are now in a place that normally used to have trees and orchards and things like that, but now they're sand creatures hanging around in these dead forests where the wind and sand have killed the natural environment, and you just have dead trees hanging around. And when I mentioned aquatic, you could reskin a number of aquatic creatures, but they just swim through the sand, coming out, reaching for the player characters. And maybe you could even use your drowning rules to pull those same characters down into the sandy dust and such, as well as using all of the things that already exist in the game, unless you want to make new rules like fog. Absolutely, fog and darkness spells could absolutely replace your dust and wind. Dark vision becomes completely irrelevant when it comes to this seeing through particulates in the air, right? And also, if this is a very natural event, magic may not have anything to do with it. So magic may not even be able to counter this effect. Although wizards that have can summon storms or gusts of wind or something may be able to temporarily alleviate it. But making sure that you have a damp cloth over your mouth all the time, not being able to have a really good short or long rest or something may also be interesting. So I'm with you there, Heathen. Being able to talk about famine and tell the players like, oh yeah, by the way, you guys wanted to do a little bit of resource management. We hand waved resources before, but now, yeah, it's a little difficult to go out there and hunt for food there, Ranger, and things like that. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, Shitlord says D&D Greta Thunberg destroys humanity with Mordenkainen's Black Blizzard. Yeah, that's cute. I like that. Yeah. Dairy Queen has a Sunday called the Black Blizzard. What did Antifa say? Yeah. I don't know if they still have it. I'm sure it's called something else, like, I don't know, Chaka Mocha or something, whatever. But yeah, but you know what? Black is applied to a number of horrible things, none of which are related to each other. But it's like going into the black. There's always blackouts, things like that, road surfaces and things. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Yes, thank you very much, guys. I apologize for missing. How did I miss that? Okay, so you guys are mentioning that Interstellar was the first thing I thought. I think that was the plus or minus an exact representation of the Dust Bowl. Yes, absolutely. So for those who have seen the movie Interstellar, before it goes interstellar, it talks about the things that have ravaged the earth, and especially the United States, in terms of agriculture. And there's a push to get people to join the agricultural movement because it's so difficult for them to plant crops. And it has become so devastating that, like, there's a family member, children that are suffering from lung damage. And in the movie, you actually see the dust storms blow through as people are gathering for like a old-timey baseball game, which is the human population has decreased and things like that. And yes, that is exactly a Dust Bowl era where despite their best efforts to plant crops, there's no nutrients in the soil, and the soil is so parched that it just turns friable and just blows up into the air. So yeah. Shay says, you wrote a book about the plains? Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, let's try to find it. I'll put it up there. Let's see. Let me log into my drive-through RPG thing here. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. hit what the hell? No, I didn't mean high plains. I just said plains. Plains critical hit publishing. Plains and grasslands. Bam, there it is. Boop, 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 boop. So anyway, getting back to this. Yeah, like Oklahoma and Iowa and Nebraska and all. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it was which regions? Let's see. It was okay. Starting south and moving northward, Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, and a bit of Wyoming uh, is the region that it covered. Oof, horrible. Drew says, I'm usually not into wilderness exploration, like I mentioned many times before, but I actually like plains. The barrens in the World of Warcraft are still my favorite leveling zone. Ah, okay, all right. And also, when you talk about plains, it's very difficult to hide, although you could have tall grasses you could hide inside of. But yeah, I talked about all that. Yeah. How about a Black Blizzard Dust Bowl vampire who is now able to go out in the daytime because the sun is obscured? There you go. Slow clap on that one. Taste. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, is this something that a vampire lord and their entourage caused? Or are the events something like, wow, we get the benefit from this, right? So having those kinds of things happen is really cool. Yeah, really cool. Falling over the fence of my fantasy zoo. You're so silly. No dark vision because Dust Bowl. Yep. Tetsubo 57 be triggered. Yeah. No Dust Bowl. And listen, I joke around about like um how ubiquitous dark vision is in 5th edition, but it's not as, if we think outside the box, it's not as useful as we think it is. Because there are things that block vision that are not something that dark vision can see through, and dust storms are basically one of those. Oh, you're so silly. No, Shice is like, was the Black Blizzard Sundae chocolate coated or was it black? I wish I'd seen it. Used to go to Dairy Queen as a kid. No. As far as I know, I think the Black Blizzard was chocolate. It wasn't until today, which is no longer called the Black Blizzard, that actually has a way of turning ice cream literally black. Yeah, but no, I think it was just chocolate. Yeah, because we have a Dairy Queen, not very. It's less than a 5-minute drive away, and it's neither on the menu, but they still have the blizzards. But they just call the blizzards by like the whatever they put in it, like Heath Bar Crunch or I don't know, M&Ms or things like that. So yeah. Underdark creatures might surface, but also have to deal with lack of dark vision. Yeah, well, we often, as kids, we play with ant hills and kind of cover them up and things like that, which is pretty nasty. We shouldn't be doing that, but we have fun messing with insects and things. Underdark creatures, which may need to surface periodically. Dust could flow down into the Underdark by accident, just naturally. And when they surface up, choking, not being able to see, and that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of, but listen, there's a lot of monsters. They don't need their eyes to operate. So, and you can make up your own monsters, right? So you could make a monster blind and give it tremor sense, and then you're done. Those kind of monsters might surface or be given new ambulatory abilities to travel during the dust storms when normally they couldn't, because they were always hidden away and just reaching out of their small caves or hovels in the ground or something like that. But once the dust storm happens, they're up and out and they're just like, yeah. Caligula says, so interstellar in a D&D setting, an anomaly takes you to the astral to escape the Dust Bowl. Hey, listen, if people are displaced, they could be traveling there. Also, the when people have to leave their region, I need to make up some. Okay, there's the Council of Seven Wizards has a large community, but the dust storms reach up. The wizards have nothing to do with the dust storms at all. They've sent out their emissaries to find out what's going on. Word comes back from the Druidic Circle. You know, I always have to pick up one of our old little things. Like, so the Druidic Circle comes back to the wizards and goes, guys, this is just a natural event. You gotta move. And it's going to take us time to try to fix and repair this or find new ways. Or the Druid Circle just goes, nope, it's just nature. You're going to have to move. And the wizards are like, damn it, our whole community was helping us so we could study magic and the arcane. This was literally our ley line. We put our tower on the ley line, but damn it, okay, everybody, we're just going to help our community move, you know, overnight. And the player characters are like, okay, with their faces wrapped up and I don't know, quartz being, you know, glasses, goggles or something like that from the gnomes with little quartz things on top so the wind doesn't erode away the glass and scar it. And the PCs get there and they trudge through this abandoned town. And what do they see? They see a wizard's tower where they can't even see the top of the wizard's tower. The dust is so thick. And so that's a great way to have those dungeon crawls in. If you're not a dungeon crawler type of individual, you love more exploratory stories or interactive stories with NPCs and more socializing, but some of your players kind of want the dungeon crawling aspect, going into abandoned locations and things like that to recover to recover the MacGuffin. The MacGuffin could be people that decided not to move and they're trapped. It could be retrieving a magic item. It could be, I mean, there could be any number of things. Maybe there are prisoners that are trapped, and your job is, you know, you've been hired to take the prisoners out of the prison chamber at the bottom of the, I don't know, the wizard's tower or whatnot, and get them, even though they're in their chains and such. Or it may be protecting a family or a caravan that's trying to just get out of the region, and the player characters are going along with it. And mind you, what I love about exploration is that this event, you can foreshadow all the dangers, and still the player characters can still come in conflict with any type of um, events that happen in the world. So you can tell the players, oh, there's thick dust storms that's going to come by. It's going to, normally it's like fog, but it can thicken like darkness or whatever. You can tell them that they might have to make saving throws because of the choking sand and such if somebody tries to pull the scarves off of their face. Of course, there are monsters out here that don't have eyes, or they, you know, and they're able to sense what's going on in the region. Magic, oftentimes in fantasy, in order to cast a spell, you must be able to see your target in order to target them with a spell. Well, you may be able to hear them, or maybe not, depending on how loud the storms are. But you may know there's a horde of orcs out there, but you can't target anyone because you can't see them, except for the 3 or 4 that have come out of the they have closed distance and such. So you may not see javelins being thrown through the air or arrows being fired. Although, if the winds are powerful enough, things that are in the air, flying creatures, thrown objects, heck, even some magic spells that create like clouds or physical objects can get blown away as well. So Shai says, instead of astral, you have to journey to the center of the earth to escape the clouds of dust, like Navigator in the Black Plague times. Ever seen that? Navigator? Oh, I'm remembering a movie with a silver starship. Something of the Navigator. Yeah, good idea. They could make a True Blood prequel set in the Dust Bowl where the Fangers have free reign. Yeah. Yeah, there was a, for us in the States, it was a BBC show, MI5, MI6 or something, where the plot was a vampires wanted to cause nuclear holocaust to blot out the sun so that they could walk around during the day because of the dust that would be kicked up. Yeah. Time for some Zorn porn. They don't need to see, right? No, they don't. No, they don't. Oh, you're so sick. I love it. Yeah, what do they pay the wizards for if they cannot do anything about it? They're totally useless. Yeah. Unless the wizards are like, shh, we caused it. Shh, don't tell anybody. But you're absolutely right. You're like, damn it, wizards. Screw you. Shai says, yeah, good point about the vampires. Now, how many other dust-based monsters are there that will now rule the realm? Dust methods and what else? Freets, air, earth elemental, love child. Yeah. Um, I think you could get away with reskinning some underdark creatures and some aquatic creatures to kind of fit in with it. Like, I think some kind of strange dust like kraken or octopus or something would be kind of cool. Um, Sidewinder snakes. I'm thinking desert. Sidewinder snakes, giant scorpions. Um, the winds would probably push the buzzards away, but the buzzards would pick at the dead bodies. There's got to be some other things. Trapdoor spiders. Hmm. Oh man, oh, my favorite, the land shark, the boulet. Gotta have some of that. Gotta have some of that. Yeah. A black blizzard, except instead of dust, it's made of Netflix woke race swap cocaine. What? That's a weird collection of words put together. Yes. By the way, just finished. I finally finished Blue Eye Samurai. Ooh, that's a great show. 8 episodes. Yeah, yeah, that would be an instant heart attack. You're right. Not Flight of the Navigator. Yeah, that's the first thing that went through my head. Flight of the Navigator. Yeah, not Flight of the Navigator. Medieval peasants dig through the earth to escape the plague and end up in modern day Australia. Ah, the Navigator is a clairvoyant child who guides them. I did not know that. I wonder what type of sorcerers would come about from these events. Uh, um, Individuals born during um, pseudo arcane events tend to uh, prop up in fantasy and science fiction, like people born under a comet that flies through the air, or an eclipse, or a solstice, or something. Um, People that are natural have a natural affinity for the arcane. I wonder what type of people these would be. Like, would it be like a Dune era thing with blue eyes and everywhere they walk, dust storms follow them or something? I don't know. Or they're able to, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe they are a bane to the dust storm. So wherever they are in a region around them, they're completely protected and people cherish them. Or like you said, a clairvoyant, someone who their blue eyes are blind, but they're able to navigate through sensing the region, whereas everybody else is holding onto a rope. These individuals are blind, but they can navigate through the darkness and such. Yeah. Pig. Oh no. Yeah, Caligula's land sharks. Man. One Eye Heathen says the ultimate dust-based monster, Pigpen. Has anyone statted Pigpen? It's that time of year, and he was my favorite peanut because he hated baths as a kid. Yes, yeah, Pigpen. I know a kid that they used to call Pigpen, and it wasn't his fault. I think his parents were just they both didn't have money, and maybe they didn't, and or they didn't care. But he got picked on a lot because he was always dirty and stuff. Yeah. Oh, I love giant scorpions. Dirty kids always they bug me on a deep level that more than they should. Because when you see dirty kids, it makes you wonder about their lifestyle and the parents oftentimes. Even if they, now mind you, it doesn't matter, maybe the kids just end up getting dirty and the parents aren't bad, but I don't know, dirty kids just rub me the wrong way. Because I make up my own context in my own head and stuff like that. I love giant scorpions too. I don't know, something about like riding on the back of giant scorpions or something just sounds cool to me. It just I don't know. It just seems like it comes across as a mounted beast that by itself is hugely dangerous, and then you've got people riding on the back of them that are probably like badasses or something. I don't know. It just seemed like you'd be a badass riding on the back of a giant scorpion, but whatever. Shitlord says the Irish Dust Bowl potatoes fly around until everybody's knocked unconscious. Horrible. Yeah. Now remember, we're talking about fantasy. So as was stated about the types of blizzards that we could have, it doesn't need to be dust. It could be locusts. It could be a black snow from coal. It could be the something uh, how do I explain it? It could be something on the horizon from volcanic activity or something burning, an arcane project that went terrible. It could be a foreshadow of something else in your world, and it just happens to be, or it's just this part of the region of your world is just a dust bowl, and populations have a hard time traveling from one to an area to another. So even the cultures are completely different because no one wants to go through the plains because of the dust storms that get kicked up. And there's other things like dust devils. Dust devils are like small tornadoes. So you could absolutely have, like, mechanically, I would have like winds. You could have a D6 random table or D4 random table and roll, say, okay, well, it's like fog this round. It could be darkness. It could be high winds. It could be making saving throws against the poisonous affliction into the lungs, just breathing the stuff in and such. So I like it. Yeah, wow. Way to reimagine a potato famine. We're all going to go to hell for laughing at it. Yeah, yeah. Because these are real things. These are potato. Well, famine itself is a real thing. The potato famine caused a displacement of people. Many Irish peoples came to the United States, sailed across a vast ocean to escape it because they didn't have a place to go. The displacement of people itself um, is a storytelling mechanism unto itself, because you have people who desperate came from one region, and you could have a clash of cultures in your own setting that the player characters might get involved in. Like maybe they're just traveling through a town and there's a bunch of displaced people coming in, and the people that are there are treating the interlopers terribly. We see this around the world. Whenever refugees from one region travel to another, there's always tension because of resources and new people, and just people just looking and acting different uh, is makes people scared, and scared people harbor anger and hate to cover up their fear of the unknown. And there's a fear of having, everyone has a fear of their own resources being taken away from them, and you add in strangers who you don't know and maybe particularly don't really care about being interlopers. There's always tension when it comes to that. So yeah. Yeah. Caligula says, isn't there some old Gygaxian force field spell that would instantly block the Black Blizzard in a supremely boring manner? I think it's called Leomund's Tiny Hut. Although the tiny hut blocks it, but it doesn't remove it. So players could actually hide under. I hate the spell. I mean, point blank, the spell is it's a bullshit spell, but it doesn't remove what's happening outside the dome. It just means you're protected from it. So you could hide under the dome and just get covered by sand and dust, and then you just never know what the hell's happening on the outside. So which unto itself is a pretty funny kind of thing to happen, because the players could hide in the Leomund's tiny hut. The dust storm passes over them. Now they look around and they're like, we don't know what's happening on the outside. The minute they drop the spell or walk outside the hut, the dust is just going to pour in on top of them when you cancel the spell, or you have to dig your way out of the dust when you walk out of the barrier of the tiny hut, which means that your opponents could be doing anything on the outside that you don't see. Spell components. How many people even use spell components anymore? And that's a cool part of the game too. I remember I had a friend of mine that used to try to make up his own, who would physically make his own spell components and put them in a pouch. I thought that was the the sweetest, most immersive thing I had ever seen. Um, he would draw or find things that would represent the spell components that he had in his spell book and stuff like that. Eventually, he had like 6 pouches full of stuff, but it was really cool. I'd never seen that before, but yeah. Taste of Benot says the Black Blizzard blows all the spell components everywhere away. Suddenly, there is no more arcane magic. Ow! You like punching people in the below the belt, don't you? Yeah. Hey, listen. You want to cast a spell? You better go digging in the dust for your components. Oh, that okay. You could have 2 wizards against each other, like searching for a dropped firearm. They're both digging in the sand to try to wrestle for the component to snatch it away from the other one to cast the spell that they need to go after. And they're both like digging in the sand, like, oh shoot, dig, 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 back guano, fireball, boom. I don't know. I found a pearl. Shit, I'm dead. Oh no. Time for Dust Bowl mages to learn to code. Hell yeah. Yep. Shai says, come to think of it, anytime a mage tries to cast some bullshit spell, you just say a sudden wind blows the X component out of your hand. Ow. That's so horrible. I love it. Oh, you're about to cast a spell, make a dex save. Why? Because the spell component is going to get blown out of your hand, and if it, you got to hold on to it. Well, isn't that a strength check? And the wizard goes like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, that is right. You have what, an 8 strength? Wasn't that your dump stat? Digging in the dirt. Time for D&D Peter Gabriel. Ooh, isn't that a deep cut? Oh no. But okay. Um so we need to come up with some reasons for why the players are bothered into it. Oh, so one thing is, since this is the day of, this event could happen in a single day. Maybe this is one event that happens. Um, uh, it's just a natural event. Species are going across the plains. You wanted to do something different. This could be predicted by like a farmer's almanac kind of thing. Players are traveling and they go, well, by the way, on day 3, it's it's called the Black Blizzard. We don't know what the heck's going to happen, but PCs are going along. It's foreshadowed. Maybe travelers along the way say, you know what? In a day and a half's time, the day the Black Blizzard will strike, we suggest you not go further. And of course, player characters like, we're badasses. We're not worried about that. Yep, it's one sign leading to an apocalypse. Absolutely. That's something that I love in the Morkborg games. Um, the idea that there are signs leading to an apocalypse, and as you are adventuring in the world, more and more signs start appearing, affecting the world itself, and these signs are layering on top of the world. Like, for example, is this Black Blizzard, locusts or a black snow, or heck, I don't know. The dust is the disintegrated bodies of those who didn't kneel before the Dark King up in the north or something like that. And people were literally breathing in the dust of the dead because they were slaughtered by the thousands and tens of thousands by some evil tyrant lord that the player characters don't know about yet. But in a few days' time, when they do find out about it, they're like, we've been breathing in people. They told us it was just paper, but it's people. Says just trying to maintain the challenge, because all the mage spells would negate the Black Blizzard and it would be boring. And that is one issue about the unintended consequences of current fantasy D20 is, and why so many people are falling back into the OSR, is because to get air quotes to get past the boring stuff, they thought it would be better to make an easy button to get past the boring stuff. But the challenge of role playing in these games is to be challenged. And so when you have a spell that instantly creates a perfect tent around your people, you got good berry or create food and water so you never have to worry about eating. You have character concepts where you never get lost, and things like that. It all boils down. Yeah, it all boils down to, well, let's hurry up and get to the fighting part, and then only that means that your only measurement of success is not losing hit points and causing hit point loss to the enemy, and there's no other real mechanical way um, to measure success, and that unintended consequences makes things a little bit boring. Um, when I hear this, maybe it's a prophecy and people are displaced because they are running from the Black Blizzard that hasn't happened and may never happen. Now, yeah, that's true too. Shice is like, dude, that's called presidential elections, but only once every 4 years. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like Detect Live would pretty much ruin pretty much any campaign that's not a pure hack and slash. Uh, I've actually been able to get around those kind of things because what a person perceives as truth doesn't necessarily mean that is the truth. It's is it like a way to like discount something the player characters have done? Sure. When I had my old group, and I don't have my old group any longer, but when I had my old group, they didn't mind that kind of stuff. Like when it's like I want to read their mind or detect a lie or something like that. I always took it from the point of view of the person who witnessed the thing. So a human who goes out into the swamp and says, "Oh, there's dragons out there." Were there really dragons, or are they just giant alligators or lizard folk or something else, right? So, yeah. Would Umber Hulks be happy or sad on the day of the Black Blizzard? Well, since their faces confuse you, I think it would be both. The insect face is sad, but the troll face is happy. I can't remember. Umber Hulk. I got pictures of Umber Hulk. I can't remember what they look like. There it is. It's like a insectoid, or they've been drawn as like insectoidish kind of thing, creatures or something. I just remember them having like beady eyes as well. Is that a did someone try to make a sexy seriously, somebody out there, someone tried to make a sexy Umber Hulk? I guess there's a kink for everybody, I suppose. I don't know. Nope, there we go. There's the beady eyes. There it is. Right. Oh, it's a thumbnail for Mr. Rex. There's the beady eyes right up here. And then I remember the face being just the mouth in the middle just being a little bit different. But whatever. Kind of cool, kind of coolish. Any others? Yeah, I don't really see too much. Okay. Let's see. Let's share this out instead. Wait, isn't there a dust plane, one of those elemental subplanes? Yes, it was between it was the elemental plane between earth and air heading towards the negative material plane, which was the plane of dust, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, so earth and air towards the positive material plane was crystal, and dust towards the negative material plane. Yeah, I can't remember them all. Yeah, Monster Manual Molester. You so that's so bad. Day of the D&D Degenerate. That would easily play into a day like this. There were like these planes that were a mix of elements or weird elements like salt or slime. Maybe I'm getting things mixed up. No, you're not. You thought you were wrong, but you're mistaken. Um, no, they're really so there was earth, air, fire, water. Between each of those, that so earth bumped up against the other three elements, creating a quasi elemental realm. And then between those, as you went further towards positive and negative material plane, they also shifted as well. So yeah, it's like, for example, I think it was like fire and earth, it was smoke. I'm sorry, fire and air combined together with smoke. But when you went positive material, fire and air became um not something, some kind of spark or something, and negative material plane, fire and air together. I can't remember them all, and I know I'm going to look it up. I'm trying to stop myself from typing it in, but so this para elemental plane of dust has an open gateway to the prime material 1 day a year. Makes sense, right? I mean, we often hear about like uh, the 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 uh, the confluence of the stars, the ley lines got together, a portal opens up, the membranes between the worlds has thinned, and we walk off into the Fey realm or the Shadow realm. Why wouldn't the elemental plane be the same way, right? And yeah, so absolutely, a thing like this um, could and maybe should happen in the world, and you could make this in the background, a thing that's happening, uh, causing your society and your world to shift. So maybe people are very happy to be where they're at and it's very boring, but they're just sitting there. But an event like this could cause those people to have to get up and move, thereby causing all kinds of problems. Economic problems, increasing in prices, social problems where one set of people don't like the other set of people. You have housing problems, the going back to famine. About One-Eye Heathen talking about, we don't often see famine in games, and famine makes a great vector of problem solving, because you could have enemies that are not trying to murder kill you. Really, what the enemies are trying to do is get fed, and stealing food, the value of food and water and shelter may be more valuable than the ill-gotten gain someone is carrying on their body. Like, we don't need gold, we really need food and shelter. For players who aren't sociopaths, and they're pulling at the heartstrings of, damn, that looks like a wall. One of South Dakota's Black Blizzards, Library of Congress, 1934. One of South Dakota's Black Blizzards, and it's written on a photograph, and that dust literally looks like a mountain. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. It's the Boston Globe photograph. Mm-mm-mm. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Oh, okay. So I'm sorry, a little distracted. There's also the idea of the player characters protecting people, protecting the MacGuffin. And MacGuffins are usually persons, places, or things. And if there are persons, people, those people may need safety. Hey, can you get us to the north? Can you get us across the western border? Can you get us through the southern valley, or whatever the case may be? And talking about combat, in combat, if the players know in 2 rounds we're going to be covered in darkness, and it's already hard enough with the fog, the thick fog that's around us of dust, it's going to turn into darkness. They may want to, sitting there and fighting a bad guy might not be a good thing if the bad guy can see better, or doesn't have to see at all but can sense the player characters. The player characters can't sense them, and then you can motivate your players to scramble up the valley hill to get to higher ground, because the dust is sweeping down deep into the valley. The player characters may choose not to engage an enemy because they know the enemy has the advantage when it turns dark, and the player characters cannot see any longer. The high winds themselves. If the archer in the group knows that, in 1d4 rounds, I rolled a 1, next round my arrows are going to completely miss because of the high winds, maybe they might take a different action. And so I love it's when punching people in the throat gets boring. I feel like if you change the landscape and the nature of it, it gets a lot more fun. So yep. What would I hate those people who hate other people? Yeah, I hate as well. I need a shirt. Yeah, I hate. Yeah, I'm with you there, Drew. I'm with you. Bernard says, "What would a good quest be for the Dust Bowl day? Something better than King commissions you to stop the Dust Bowl." Um, I think there's two ways to look at it. One could be the Dust Bowl is irrespective of the mission. So the players have a goal, the Dust Bowl intersects with them, and then that creates a problem. Um, but I think it could also be player characters have a responsibility to people or a place or a thing, and then the Dust Bowl makes them have to reconsider what to do. Do do you hunker down and hope it blows over, or do you move all of your goods and services and travel another way? Again, a great evil could literally go into the Dust Bowl, and the player characters need to retrieve that criminal, evil person, things like that. The players could be part of an army that was laying siege to a certain location, and this just happens to happen during a battle, right? Something that completely natural but happens during a battle. This could be um, the Dust Bowl Black Blizzard literally happened from settling the United States. So the players may just be part of groups of people who are like, yay, we have a great open region with no indigenous people who live here, and we're just going to settle our world. And now they created a problem, and the player characters are like, oh, we told you not to do that. And so it it could be humanoid hubris the player characters understand that they are engaged in or know of, and they're just like, this isn't going to work. And then suddenly, of course, it doesn't, and the PC's like, we told you so. um yeah. Or if the player characters are kind of evil, they could murder kill people in the dust and no one knows about it. um yeah, there's always types of treasure and things buried, like you said, like this said. But anyway, let me put this up here. Evil mage creates Dust Bowl, and you have to kill him. But first, you must overcome 10 levels of progressively stronger monsters. Yeah, trying to get to him. Yeah, like the wizards deep in the Dust Bowl storm, like, in a few months' time, this entire region will be lifeless, and then I can pick off the scraps of their bones, right? And then the PCs are like, nope, pulling the scarf off their face. Nope, we push through. Now we get to murder kill you. Drew says the MacGuffin is a cake, and you know that the cake is a lie. You're so silly. And collect treasures and power ups along the way. Yeah, I guess so. You could absolutely do that. How about the quest is you are all just farmers, so all you can do is try not to die. Yeah, that's a very OSR kind of thing. Like, oh, you used to be adventurers, but you retired. Now you have to come out of retirement from farmers and move your farm and your herd or whatever, and move across the Great Plains to get to someplace safe. Or, a DCC zero level funnel. Yeah, so you start out zero level farmers and flee from the Dust Bowl, and that's how your party comes together and goes on to take their character classes. That's actually excellent, right? Yeah. Instead of delving into a dungeon, you're just traveling across a landscape. And you know what I've always said: above ground travel is basically dungeons without it's just a dungeon without walls and a ceiling. That's really all it is. When Heathen says, I really love this topic, but I need to head to bed. Thanks for another great show. Tell me it's another great show. You don't know that. You can't say that. No, you have a great one as well. The wind that blows the mage. That sounds dirty. Hey, this wind doesn't just suck, it blows. Um, the wind that blows the mage's bullshit spell components out of his hand just stays and never goes away and fucks up the environment. Well, you know what? You could actually, let's say you did a vanilla. Maybe you said, you know what? I'm just going to do a vanilla fantasy realm, and player characters are adventuring, and you're like, man, I don't like this vanilla part. This could be the end result of using too much magic. Like your players are like, you know what? You know how you use Fireball all the time? By the way, back where you used to be, there's an eternally burning flame, and it keeps growing, right? Like this could be the end result of another adventuring party many years ago that have retired and moved on. And this is just a side effect of using too much magic. And the players, yes, I know we're flowing towards Dark Sun, but yes, this could go that way as well. So now I'm going to write an adventure going with the Black Blizzard instead of going with the wind. Oh, Caligula's is like, that was a joke about video game style game. Yeah, I get it. I with the power-ups, like, we're going to get to the 10th level and fight the bad guys. Donkey Konging it. Yeah, that's true. But I still like it. I still like the idea, though. Because technically, Fantasy D20, that's kind of what it is, right? It's go on adventure, go up another level, get power-ups like magic items and things. Your character gets other abilities as you level up, and it go, et cetera, right? It's not that far away from it. You have to punish mages for using bullshit spells. Cast Goodberry, get Dust Bowl. Yep. Yeah. What if casting Goodberry drains the nutrients and life from the ground around it? Hey, I'm looking at you, Dark Sun. But yeah, oh yeah, going with the microaggression. We gotta take us out on that one. Yeah, Goodberry. Yeah. You cast Goodberry, you get Dust Bowl. That would be crazy. You could literally tell your players on this day of that all of their magic gets, or at least most of it gets, reflavored as this Dust Bowl. So you try to cast a fireball, and in the mage's hand is a small condensed flowing brown swirling dust ball, and when they cast it, it's not fire at all. It's just a bunch of swirl, like a tornado of sorts, that explodes in the area and just sends winds and things like that. I mean, that's a possibility as well. I mean, that might be taking a little too far if the players don't understand what's going to happen, but yeah, very much could be that way. So anyway, guys, we are going to get out of here. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I'm trying to remember what tomorrow will be. What do I have for tomorrow? Oh, Day of the Lost Colony. Roanoke. The Roanoke Island. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Day of the Lost Colony. So anyway, you guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I'm going to be promoting the show just a little bit more, and I can't wait to be on Heath's show. What is it? Today's the 13th. Another week or so, 7 days or whatever. So can't wait for that. So anyway, guys, 8 days. So thank you very much for being part of the show. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much for your attention. And of course, Friday, we're going to talk about Obsidian Star and finish our talk about combat and damage and things like that, because that's always a big thing for role-playing games as well. So guys, thank you very much. Yeah, happy hump day. Hells yes. Yeah, what? Camel hump day. So guys, have a great one. I will see thee later. Peace and tranquility